Experience Africa's heartbeat.
The African Pulse.
A weekly broadcast that takes you across Africa.
Different topics.
Culture.
Tech.
Health.
Economy.
And even politics.
The African Pulse.
Only on Ifrikya FM.
Salut l'Afrique and welcome to this new episode of the African Pulse, your weekly deep dive into African stories that shape our continent. I'm your host, Emmanuel, and today we'll explore history, culture, and the figures whose legacies still influence Africa today. On this episode, we mark the memory of one of Africa's most iconic leaders, Patrice Lumumba, the first Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, whose death anniversary was yesterday on January 17. Lumumba's fight for independence and his vision for a united Congo continue to resonate across generations, and it reached even today and maybe even beyond in the future. And just as recently at the AFCON 2025, a Congolese fan looking strikingly like Lumumba captured the world's attention, reminding us all of his enduring symbol of courage and defiance. So today we reflect on his legacy and what it means for Africa in the 21st century. Joining me in the studio today are two passionate journalists who are regular voices on our show on the African Pulse. We have to my right Widad Allawa from Algeria, a columnist known for insightful takes on the African history and politics. And likewise, we have also Divirnana Kwamina from Ghana, who delves into even social movements across the continent. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Iman, for having us.
And I'm happy to have you again. Okay, so, our first segment of the day is titled Lumumba's Legacy, and here we dive into the legacy of Patrice Lumumba and the continued relevance of his idea today. And Nana, you talk about living legends, and you previously mentioned Lumumba, and I do believe with his anniversary you did mention him again, so you know more about Lumumba's vision for Congo and how he was both ambitious and controversial at the same time. In what ways do you think his ideals still shape political discourse in the DRC today?
Well, when you look at Lumumba and the life and his death, we do understand one of so many few things. But, the discourse is still shaped through Pan-Africanism. We still talk about national identity and anti-colonial resistance. And so far, through his death, we are still debating on sovereignty, resource exploitation, and the core of what the Congolese state is at this point in time. So we're talking about Unitarianism, which was Lumumba's vision, and then federalism. That is the discourse that goes on in Congo right now. So we're looking at himself inspiring movements for economic self-determination and challenging the colonial structures in politics and education. So when we look at Pan-Africanism as a system in itself, we look at what he is, and we look at him as a champion of Africa, right? And that in itself is the core tenet of why his name is still on our lips. When you look at anti-neocolonialism and you look at the resource control, we saw what led to his death. It was greed. Greed by his fellow men, greed by the Belgian
people
Empire.
who were close to him as well.
Exactly. So we look at his fight against colonial exploitation, which extends to the present day right now. So and that falls on the critique we have for multinational corporations that still operates within the country till this day, and the extent of foreign powers that exercise force and influence in these regions in order to exploit the natural resources that are there. Because you look at Congo, we know that Congo is resource rich. According to the discourse that is out there, Congo is the richest country in the world when it comes to natural resources. But these natural resources are exploited. But what is the benefit to the people?
Yeah.
You know?
And unfortunately, Congo is not benefiting from its own resources.
Not at all. And when you look at the symbol of resistance, it is Lumumba. Lumumba embodies that resistance against the imperial forces. And when we look to examples, we look to the FLN in Algeria, we look to Nkrumah, we look to Thomas Sankara. These are entities that have had their impacts. So the discourse is still there today because everything he feared is currently happening in Congo. So we look, when we discuss Congo, we look to the past and we look to what Congo lost. And there are two Congos. We're not talking about Congo Brazzaville.
Yeah, we're talking about
Congo
democratic.
Kinshasa.
We're talking about the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah, so we look to that. We look to the past and what the Democratic Republic of Congo could have had, which is Lumumba. But obviously his life was cut short. Was cut short
very early, very, very early. And in a very unfortunate way as well. But considering how Lumumba became a symbol because of that, not just locally, but internationally, how do you think his story influenced the, let's say, broader Pan-Africanism movement?
Like I said, when you look at Lumumba's story, we have transformed Lumumba into a martyr. We've transformed him into a symbol of anti-colonial resistance. You look to Lumumba's story and how he died. You do realize that this man was killed, and with no announcement. He was just arrested. He was detained. Then he was killed.
Yes.
Without his death being announced. But what happened to his body? You have to ask yourself.
Exactly. This is the worst part of it.
Exactly.
This is the worst part of it.
His body, he was dismembered, and then he was thrown in a vat of acid. Only his tooth remained. And we only know that because one of the Belgian agents kept it as a souvenir.
Yes. And later on, his daughter, earlier in the last year, 2025, decided to return it to the family. Yeah, to the families.
Yeah. But when you look to that, you look to someone they hope would disappear. No grave, no.
They left nothing. No trace of him.
No statue, no memorial. In an attempt to erase one man. But what his solution was for the country and what the country has become makes people lament of the past. So no matter how much they try to erase him, we still speak on him till today.
Yeah, they will never be able to.
So we're looking at a man that was a fierce advocate for a unified, invincible Congo. We're looking at a man that wanted Congo free from colonial and regional divisions and a Congo free from the exploitation of colonial powers, right? His vision for that unity also extends into Pan-Africanism.
And which it wasn't only about Congo.
It wasn't only about Congo because his speeches traveled far.
Exactly.
But also the work, like in Nkrumah, was to have an African federation. And then, like I said, his burial was in 1961. If I didn't say that earlier on, so we know that Belgians and the Americans were involved. At this point in time, I can say that not a lot of people are fond of American imperialism. So for the fact that they are involved is a symbol of resistance because this is a man that defied the powers. So even though his life was tragic, it has inspired revolutionaries. It has inspired civil rights movements. We are looking at figures like Malcolm X and Nelson Mandela. We're looking at international protests that followed his death, and it brought anti-colonial forces together. It spurred a turn towards the young men, because if our leaders, if our elders could do that to a man, then the youth cannot sit down and watch it be done to them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And this was the strongest call for all to move. And with that, there are often debates on whether Lumumba's assassination was a turning point for Africa or a warning about external interference. What's your take on how this movement affected African independent movements?
Lumumba's killing was once a historic rupture. I think it would be both because it exposed limits of Africa's early independence, and it relieved how external powers could still shape outcomes behind the scenes. So while it strengthened Lumumba's statues as a symbol of and compromising sovereignty, it also made it clear to liberation movements that true independence would remain vulnerable and fragile without control over political and economic decision making.
Yeah, and in modern times, like today, for instance, do you think young Africans recognize the historical weight of leaders like Lumumba or, let's say, Nkrumah or such figures?
Yes, I would
or
say
has global...
there is a certain recognition. However,
so you don't think it has a, let's say, global cultural overshadows these stories or something?
Yes, absolutely, it does. It has an overshadow of it, but I think it's often more of just a simple image to him. They're not like
To them, the youth.
to them. Yeah, sorry, they're not noticing the resurgence of interest. These youth-led discussions and online platforms, they are not showing enough, I would say,
Symbolism?
the story behind only his image, or because they're just seeing the outside of it.
They don't see the
surface.
bigger picture.
Yes.
Do you agree with what she's saying, Nana?
I do believe it. I do believe in what she says, but I think the youth nowadays, I don't think everyone recognizes every leader, right? We don't.
Yes.
Not everyone knows a Thomas Sankara, and not everyone knows
Exactly.
Kwame Nkrumah.
There's
not
a lack of education about that.
But also you have to look at the critique of foreign interference. Right.
Exactly.
The
And
overshadowing,
that's
yeah.
the thing that we should actually discuss. It's not that they are let's say they are to some extent overshadowed, but let's also say that we are not talking enough about them.
Yeah, but that's why I say that there's now critique of foreign interference. You know, when you look at what's happening in South America, people evoke the name Che Guevara.
Che Guevara.
Che Guevara, yeah. You know, people often look to the past to inform their future. That's how the world works. And people may say otherwise, but I believe it is so. You may not be able to put it in so few words like I have, but everyone, once we get to a point in our lives where things are the same, or it's a situation where we've been warned about, we often look to the past to look for the warning signs. And there's a reason why these people are martyrs, right? There's a reason why you have Boumadiene on your airport. There's a reason why you have statues of Fatima M. Soman.
Yeah.
And
So
you know, you have you look. There's Imhidi on the other side.
yeah, but
You know,
Nhidi, of course.
like you ask a young person, what do they know about these individuals? I feel like there's not a lot of people that could tell you otherwise.
Yes.
But the fact that these symbols are there shows something. It shows the tenacity of people to keep history alive. You know, they say history is often dictated by the victor, but I think Africa, we are doing a good job of bringing history back and retelling what our
Yeah, I
history
think
is.
they're always remembered. Like
Exactly.
Even on a governmental level. You know, we see ministers and delegations always talk about them.
And this time-
remind people about them.
Yes.
And that's
Yes,
not the
so-
only thing. Now we are even pushing for
Yes, we
reparations.
Yes,
Algeria,
using
for
them
example.
for current challenges as well.
So when you look to your neighboring countries, when you look to countries that are going through war, you look at Sudan at this point in time, you look at the discourse of Somaliland and Somalia. Out of curiosity, for example, the latter that I just mentioned, Somalia, Somaliland, you go and look at the history. What are the historical connotations? You see, we are celebrating Algeria's Independence Day, but what's the history there? The youth are curious, especially when you have criticism for what the West is still doing. You know, social media has been the bright spots in these modern days, even though it has its bad effects. But it allows people to come across information they wouldn't have thought of. You know, I did a paper during last year on South Africa versus the Zionist state, and we spoke on how how Israel kept supporting the apartheid state of South Africa by shipping in weapons and the rest. How would I know that if we're not seeing what's happening in Palestine? Why was South Africa the first country to send a formal request to the ICJ to arrest Netanyahu, to punish him for war crimes? Because there's historical connotation there. It's the same way you look. Exactly. It's the same way you look at Congo, right? You look at Congo, you look at the history. How did Congo get to this place? Why is Congo so deregulated? You look at the past and you look, okay, the first president, there was Lumumba. After Lumumba, who was it? There was Mobutu Sese Seko. That was the man that betrayed Lumumba. Now history becomes an interesting story. So yes, the youth.
And we have to mention the fact that he was later on banished. From Congo. To where? Where was he banished to?
To here, to Algeria.
Not Algeria.
No. Is it
He was buried. Yes, to Morocco, and that's where he died. He tried coming. No, he tried coming. He tried to come to Algeria. It's not that he didn't try, but this is an information that I have yet to confirm. But apparently, Algeria did not receive him because he murdered Lumumba, and Algeria took stance. You know,
you see that. So that's where discourse starts, right? That's where the youth starts. The thing is to encourage nationalism and Africanism in our youths, and with that comes concern. Whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your own country, whether it's your own reality or another's reality, but that in itself is the beginning of us knowing about these great people. Is the reason I have the motivation to pursue my show, Living Legends.
Yeah, and you know, we have talked a lot for now about the history of, let's say, the symbolism of Lumumba on his anniversary, his death anniversary. And before we move on to our next segment, let's take this short moment to enjoy some music that captures the spirit of Lumumba's Congo. Here's Independence Cha-Cha by Grand Calais, a classic Congolese anthem of independence. Welcome back to our second segment of the show where we connect history to recent events, and this segment is titled From History to Today's AFCON Connection, including the striking appearance of Lumumba's lookalike at the AFCON 2025, which reunited discussions about African identity and pride. Nana, I'm pretty sure you have witnessed the AFCON this year. It was heated, and the AFCON fan who strikingly looks like Lumumba went viral and sparked conversations globally. How significant are such cultural symbols, in keeping historical figures alive in public memory?
I mean, you just to even answer this question, you just need to look at what the commentator said.
Yeah.
When they laugh, when the camera panned out to the man,
he was standing and raising his hand.
Exactly. The man. The question was, what is Lumumba doing at AFCON, right?
Right.
And now.
He literally, by saying this one line, he shed light into
who the man was impersonating.
This Lumumba,
right?
Who is Lumumba?
The man, he was in costume, dressed like Lumumba, haircut like Lumumba, glasses like Lumumba, but you could say he was not really celebrating a goal. Like, he was making a statement. You look at our politicians, and they argue about sovereignty in conference halls, but then you look at the ordinary African. That's the African is looking at you and he's saying, like, we remember, right? We remember a leader who refused to kneel. We remember that independence was supposed to mean ownership. We remember that dignity was meant to be structural, not symbolic. I would like to say these are words for my tribute to Lumumba on my show, Living Legends, coming out this weekend. So you should look out for that. But yeah, you see, the match ends, the camera moves on, but that question still remains. What is Lumumba doing in the stadium? It's all inspiring, It's you look at it and you realize that it is an uncomfortable realization as to where Congo is right now. People still mourn Lumumba in Congo. It's really that bad, because you have to understand, immediately after Lumumba died, right? The next person was one of the worst dictators Africa has ever seen, right? So you look at
that dictator regime he had at that period of time. It was fundamental, because today Congo still can't stand on its own 2 feet.
Exactly. He crippled Congo for Western interest and to enrich himself. This is a man that built a lavish lifestyle. You go into the jungles of Congo, you find his old house. You found it's not even a house, it's a mansion.
Yes,
it's a huge mansion. It had its own airport. Extravagant. He used to entertain leaders.
He leveraged. He literally leveraged. Yeah, he leveraged the resources
of his people. So people still mourn Lumumba, and that tribute in itself is more than I can ever put in a few words on a radio station.
Yes.
You see, he brought Lumumba alive. Yes, he brought Lumumba alive. Like I said, he dressed like him, stood in a pose like him.
So can moments like this one inspire like civic engagement or political reflection among young Africans, or are they like mostly just symbolic gestures?
No, they can. You see, you look at me, and then the way I express myself when talking about this thing. These things it's interesting, and I don't think I'm the only one out there. Like I said, in the context of Algeria, why do I know about Boumadiene? Why do I know about Fatima and Soman? Yes, I have a show called Living Legends. You can find all episodes of these figures on the show. but the reason I was inspired to even do the show in the first place is to highlight these people. We are looking at ordinary men that took a stance to defy colonial powers. And I know this show is about Lumumba, but the reason why I speak on Algeria is because I want to be on familiar ground, especially to our listeners, even though I know all of you are listening across Africa. So we're not trying to leave you out. But
certainly not.
But in this context, we're talking about leaders. You look at these people. Lumumba is to Congo. Nkrumah is to Ghana. Right, you got Thomas Sankara to
Burkina
Faso, right? When Traore took over power, the first person they compared him to was Thomas Sankara. But why?
Yeah, because he was a great man.
Yes. So
He became kind of an ideal leader.
an ideal leader. You look at politics and you want to change things, but you never you think it's impossible. But that's why we look to these figures. There's one thing you notice across, especially doing my show, is that there are a lot of teachers that became leaders, but so many of them also became dictators, which is funny, right? It's funny in that context, but
It's ironic.
It's ironic, exactly. But at the end of the day,
It proves that you can choose what to do with your
yeah, exactly.
knowledge.
It proves that you can come from anywhere. The same way you look at Dangote,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Dangote is someone to look up to.
yes.
Yeah.
You look at these people, and that's what you aspire to be. It's the same way. That's what the discourse is all about. So when you say, do they inspire? I believe they do, especially if you know about who you're talking about.
Exactly. And that's the crucial thing. People need to know more. They need to read more. They need to explore more. They need to understand more. And they need to look, let's say, about the historic coming from these figures and the symbolism they bring out. And with that, do you think that football and, other popular cultural platforms in Africa are effective ways to discuss history? Or are there, let's say, a risk of oversimplifying complex figures, such as
Yes,
Lumumba?
Iman. I think that football have become more than just sports, because this is not the first time that we see someone or a player or an athlete
fan, yeah,
influence
yeah.
this much people, because we've seen it, I guess, with Côte d'Ivoire before, the player, he was a very famous player.
Who? I don't.
I guess Drogba, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
Drogba.
did you-
Ah,
Yes.
Didi Drogba.
Yes.
I was looking at the 90s. I was
Yeah.
looking
I was a
at
huge
It
fan of that
rebels.
player. I was a huge fan of him.
Likewise.
Yeah. So
The days.
Yes. So after post matches, he used to always, there was a civil war back then in Côte d'Ivoire, and he used to always talk about it in his interviews, in post matches.
Yeah, and it used to affect people's opinion.
Yes, and and it really did work. It affected people in Côte d'Ivoire, and they started protesting. They started to trigger the government to stop the civil war and to
Reach a solution, yeah.
So yes, football can really influence this kind of.
She's right. She's absolutely right.
And this time it was with Lumumba, and I think it did a great. He was like a trend.
Yeah, now
on
he
all
is
social
trending.
media.
It's a good thing that he's shedding light to Congo again, because I think
Yes.
it's high time that we find a solution for Congo. It's high time
Yes.
because Congo deserves to fix its, let's say, diplomatic strengths first, and then we go to the economic hurdles that it's facing right now, because it has, like you mentioned previously, Nana, it's rich of resources, and it's high time it starts exploiting its own resources instead of foreign interference.
Yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
people like this fan, you are using. This is like a proof that people are using anything, even sports, to promote peace and
Exactly.
stop wars. Yes.
Nana, what other modern day initiative or, let's say, events do you see successfully blending, I don't know, history, politics, or even culture to educate Africans about their own heritage?
Programs, go to a museum. That's how I would say.
That's the most classic thing, though.
Yeah, but
I don't
that's
come on. I don't think youngsters would just, up and go to museums.
yeah, but like what I have it, what I have.
Social media.
Yeah, the list I have here is they're actually things I've never like really participated in. And so we've got some key initiatives and approaches here, which apparently have been so successful so far.
Okay. Let's hear.
So you've got UNESCO's General History of Africa, which is a major continental project integrating Africa's rich history, politics, and culture into educational systems to combat Eurocentric narratives and promote African ownership of our history, right? So it is a curriculum. I don't know how many countries have it on deck. But yeah, and then we've got here, they're talking about digital platforms. They say TV festivals, we have we have this festival back at home. It's called the Chalawote Festival, where it's held every September. I think they stopped. I don't understand why they did. But I used to bring, it just wasn't about Ghanaians. We used to bring artists, not musicians, like artists, to come and display their arts.
As in, you're talking about paintings, sculptures.
Well, yes. So the way the
Okay.
festival used to happen is that we used to take off over a whole road. It's called High Street. And we used to block. So do whatever you want. So we used to give artists sections. So it's not bringing your paintings. Yeah, you bring your paintings on display, but it's also about embodying what your artwork is. So we give you a side of the street, and the street, the way it has historical connotations. The St. James Fort, the James Fort is right down that road, and there used to be a fort that was an intermediary. They used to keep prisoners and there and whatnot. So it's abandoned. I remember there was one time I went to the festival. They had transformed that place. You go into a cell and it's just art all over the place. They paint the graffiti, the streets, and it's intricate. It's not just random.
It's actually
And,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So art, I feel art is very traditional. Unfortunately, well, I said museum, but I was really watching a video yesterday when we were talking about the Ashanti War.
Yeah.
And at some point where, I think what history has, what the West has showed to most people in the diaspora is that we willingly sold slaves, which in a sense is true, but it's not in the broader context. You have to understand that there was resistance. There was resistance. People used to fight against slave traders. People used to be kidnapped from their homes. They were not willingly given, right? You had only a few bad characters that would come along, organize themselves, and then be the intermediary between the British and the people. So they would go up kidnapping their own people. But when you look even to these Western countries that these diasporans occupy, they're kidnappers. They are tyrants. But you have to understand, we fought so much that we almost got utterly obliterated. So what happened in the context of the Ashanti War was that the Ashanti Hene, which was the king of the Ashanti kingdom, he was kidnapped and sent to Seychelles. He was exiled from his own land.
And then the queen had to step in.
Yeah. And so almost all the able-bodied men were taken into slavery. So it was so bad, and the resistance was so strong that our Queen Mother had to step up, which is the famous Ashanti War.
Yeah, the famous the Ashanti War of the Golden Stool,
yeah.
I think.
So the museums matter. Your history matters. You need. I don't think any special activities, because I don't think people are aware of what Africa is. Aisha Speed is going through Africa, and people are shocked that Africa is modernized.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So I can't look to these. I have a list here, but I really don't want to go through it because I feel like their impact is not significant for me.
You're limiting the
because Imen's question was specific, right? So the initiatives. My initiative to you is to read. My initiative to you, if you don't want to read, YouTube. Right, there's African biographies. We have Ifrikya FM here. We talk about the daily news, what's going on in Africa. We are literally specialized to talk about things in Africa. That's what this radio station could be, anything.
Yeah,
but we are Ifrikya FM.
Yeah,
it goes a long way. Context matters. Everyone looks to it, and then you look to the West, because one thing you look to the world, especially like in the Americas, most slaves come from West Africa, but we didn't willingly give up slaves. Like it's something I just don't understand why I always find that discord online. We fought so much that all the able-bodied men were captured
because they always take not the victim's story. They take the other side of the story instead of the victim.
Exactly.
This is where the difference happens. This is why Africa has to speak for itself. This is why we are now trying to be one voice on the global stage, because we are not heard enough. We are not heard enough.
Exactly. My own is this. You look to history and you realize that our history has always been sought out to be erased. You look at the one man, because Lumumba was not supposed to be the man in power. Lumumba was hated as soon as he gave his independence speech. He didn't think the Belgian leader was the prince was offended. What are we doing here? Right, this is a man that they tried to erase from history. We are coming back to this is our tribute to Lumumba. So it's, yes, I've spoken about Fatima and someone in the rest.
Yeah.
So listeners, we are back here again. But I say this to say is you have to inform yourself. There's no initiative that is enough to force you. These initiatives, I've not seen them in Algeria. I have not seen them in my country. But they are there. But clearly, they've not reached us yet. You don't have to wait
You have
for
to reach out
exactly.
yourself.
In Algeria,
Yes,
it's
exactly.
different. In Algeria, to educate people about historical figures, it's been done in the educational system. So we go in our curriculum since the elementary school to middle school to high school. We keep studying about historical figures. We keep studying about wars. We keep studying about heroes. We keep studying about martyrs whom sacrificed themselves for the just causes, for the right cases. So this is how Algerians learn about their own heroes. But even more than that, we even participate in plays, actually. They do plays. They make them do plays, and they make them do, like take roles on the martyrs, on certain battle happened in history. They have to embody it into a theater kind of play.
Yes.
And sometimes we even have movies. We're still working on that one, but we have movies as well.
I
So
actually had teachers force us, but insist on us, all of us, to participate in plays like this. They
didn't have to insist. I was willingly playing parts. I enjoyed that. I enjoy art, acting, singing, you name it. I enjoyed that. And
I was too shy.
now looking back at
Me too,
those,
me too.
I was never the shy person. That's why I work for, a media broadcast channel like Ifrikya FM. And I always enjoyed this. I always enjoyed public speech. And to be honest, looking back at those memories, I'm fond of this. And I'm grateful for all those teachers who taught me about our history, about Algeria's history, about Africa's history, and even on the broader picture, the international history, because we even learned about other wars like the Cold War, Russia, Ukraine, capitalism, and communism. So yes, this is how we do it here. It's in the curriculum. So as we wrap up now, back to Patrice Lumumba, as we are here as a tribute to this hero. We know that it's clear that his influence continues to resonate today. This is something we cannot deny. And from the political discourse to even cultural expressions, and if we go back to the historic reflections, to viral moments at sporting events like recently, once again at the AFCON, his legacy always reminds us all that the past and present are always connected together. And that remembering leaders like him is not about oral history. It's about inspiring action and about awareness today. Don't you agree, Nana?
I do agree. And it's befitting because Lumumba was the first ever personality I did for my show. So I think I might revamp the story. But you just tune in this weekend for just a tribute.
So thank you all for joining us, and thank you. Thank you.
You keep repeating that.
I need to come to my show.
I will.
I certainly will. I mean, I'm a fan. And thank you again, dear listeners, and thank you to my dear guests, Nana and Widad, for all their insights they shared today. This was all for our journey today on the African Pulse. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue to explore other stories that shape Africa. This is Iman Ouad. Until then, keep celebrating, keep questioning, and sharing the rich tapestry of African life. Don't forget, this episode will be edited by Muad Bab Ahmed.
Took me away from you, mama. Long before I was born. They took me away from you, mama.